because I shrunk myself to the point where, you know, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know anything. And so halfway through the drive, my nervous system like unlocked. And it was to the point where it was almost like spiritual, bro. This release of like peace went over my whole entire body. Like colors seemed like they got bright. Like it was insane to the point where I don't think I realized how messed up my nervous system was. Once you find peace, dude, you will fight and crawl to keep that.
What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless podcast. We'll be doing this podcast bringing guests from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life to share their journey and everything along the way that led them to where they're at today. Real conversations, raw emotion, and the kind of human connection that can't be faked. We're here to make an impact, and that is what we do. So if that is for you, like, subscribe, all those wonderful things. And if that is not for you, I don't know what your problem is, but it's time to jump on board today. Thank you. But without further ado, I would love to reintroduce an old friend of mine, someone that's been on here a long, long time ago. My man, Charles Rucker.
I appreciate you. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to catch up.
Dude, it's so good to have you
Bro,
here.
it's so good to see you. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Likewise.
I'm about to say I'm super proud of you, bro.
That means a lot, dude.
No, that's the truth.
It's cool, man. We've always gotten along well.
We have, man.
No strings, right?
Right.
So we've just gotten along, and there's always been a good
Connection.
mutual respect and connection.
Absolutely.
And so I've always been grateful for it.
Facts. Me too, man.
And I know we've both been through some crazy seasons as of the past several years, the past couple of years for sure.
Sure.
Our own ups and downs.
Yeah.
I talk about mine plenty on here.
Yeah.
So today it's about focusing on yours and what life's been like. So it's just great to have you, man.
Man, I'm happy to
I've
be
missed
here.
you, dude.
I missed you, bro.
Where you living at right now?
So technically I'm in Canada, but I was in Florida. But when I left here, I was in Florida for probably about 6 months. And then went to Canada. Then I'm actually about to come back to Murfreesboro. It's been all over, bro.
So crazy you're living in Canada.
Bro,
Of all the places, did you ever expect that?
no. You never expect to live in Canada?
Yeah. I know. It just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, you never expect that. But I will say, like, Canada is the most peaceful place I've ever been.
Yeah.
Like, this open land, the sky's completely different. Like, it's just a sense of just peace.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Everybody's so friendly. Everybody says A all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hey.
A.
Sorry, eh?
A. I told my girl I was gonna put that in my vocabulary just to mess with people in Tennessee.
A.
To say A after everything. But no, it's man, I like Canada. It's really a very peaceful, but I think the way people treat you is just so different than the U.S. You know, and I don't even know how to explain that. But they're extremely friendly, and I don't know, bro. It's peaceful. You gotta go out there one day.
Yeah, it's different everywhere in the U.S.
It is.
It just depends on where you go. You got to experience it for yourself, too, man. I think we build up these ideas, and that's our expectation.
Yeah.
But I think it just varies, man. It could be town to town difference, dude.
And
even in Tennessee.
No, it is. It's just the environment that you walk into. And I think, like what you just said, the most important is not have expectations going into anywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because anytime you put expectations on anything, you're forcing yourself to, get let down anyway.
Yeah.
But when you walk in with an open mind, you also, I feel like you're able to experience it a lot more.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
I think the only place I have any expectations, and I think it's, but they were stated, like my wife and I, when we, figured out pretty fast we wanted to spend our lives together.
Right.
But like we both named expectations. We know we're going to change over the years. Like
Absolutely.
We're way different people than when we met, but we've grown together. But I think communicating like, hey, this is what I envision. This is what I want with you.
Yeah.
And just like, but not like, I think it's important to name it and talk about it rather than just like expecting it. Like And saying it a few years later, like, hey, this
Absolutely.
was my expectation. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, we didn't talk about that 3 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Why are you switching up now?
Well, this is changing fast, and that happens a lot.
No, it does. And I think that's, especially in relationships, that's the most important part, is when you're in a relationship, to try to grow together.
Communicate.
You communicate. Because like, you are, as humans, you're constantly growing anyway. And so you're either growing apart or you're going, and it's based off of, you go through things in life, based off of environments, maybe change of job. So people are always constantly evolving.
Yes.
And so as a couple, communication and working and being like very selective of really trying to grow together is the most important part.
But the communication, like, one I think a lot of people miss is the intention behind it. Like, my wife checks me because I tell her to. I'm like, if I fall short, just let me know.
Let me know.
And I get a little defensive at first, not towards her, but because I'm so hard on myself. And
Right.
if I know I'm falling my family short at all,
Yeah.
even if it's the tiniest thing, I'm like, Joe, you're a scumbag, But no, I appreciate it. But I check her too.
Right.
And I think that's really important. It's just like accountability.
It's super important.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, as a man, how long did it take you to learn to communicate?
When did I meet my wife? It took a lot. It took me, over 30 years, because I think I could tell you now, in every past relationship, the communication wasn't there.
Facts.
Maybe because you're afraid to communicate because of, you don't want to deal with the aftermath of it. Even just stating your feelings, like, they could get shut down or it could be an explosion, right? So you build up that expectation with everybody in the future. So your communication can either worsen or get better.
Yeah.
And when I met her, I was like, okay, we sat down and I was like, I'm tired of like the fucking BS. I was like, listen, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. I told you before, like, I'm in a cult, I'm like, all these things, like, this is what you get.
Exactly.
And I think that up front, that was probably one of the best things we've ever done, is just like, let it bleed out up front, dude. I'm not here to waste your time.
Yeah. Here's
what you get. Take it or leave it. And I think that was huge. But a lot of people think there's it's not my say so. It's like, you can save each other a lot of time.
Absolutely.
And pain.
Yeah.
By just being up front.
Talking. Yeah.
And I think learning how to communicate. Like, I didn't know I had anxiety and depression issues and stuff like I was going through. I thought I was like, dude, man, don't deal with that shit. I'm a tough guy. Like, I don't get depressed.
Yeah.
I don't get anxiety. And then I started having anxiety attacks because I thought I was going to destroy that relationship.
Right.
Our relationship. I was like, it's too good to be true, honey.
Well, and that's the thing.
I
think for men you have to learn to communicate, because like for me, the male figures that I grew up around, they didn't talk, they didn't communicate.
Oh, we're like the first generation, really.
Yeah. And so you grew up around that.
Yeah.
And so you used to seeing, the male figures of your life, they never communicated. So you don't learn to communicate. So that's why when you get in a relationship, y'all get in an argument, first thing a guy wants to do is like walk out or leave.
Well, and then I think a lot of women, just from like my experience with my wife, I think a lot of women don't know how to hold space for that because they've seen that too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my wife, the biggest thing and I give her so much credit. She's such a key aspect in like all my shift and like growth and everything, because when I was having those moments and I said I was going to burn it down, like this is going to be like she didn't take it personal. She wasn't like, oh, I'm just like every other girl. Yeah. She was like, Joe, that's okay. Feel that. She just gave me the fucking space.
She gave you space.
She was like, cried. She's like, I'm here.
That's dope.
And I just fucking got to start feeling things. And like, by her allowing me that space, it gave me the opportunity to actually communicate.
Right.
Because like those anxieties, all that shit was nothing to do with her. It was just the fear of what may happen because of what happened in the past.
Facts.
But she gave me that space. And like, there's still things I'm working through.
Yeah.
You got to think most of your life is a compilation of things you've maybe not confronted for however many years or decades, right? So yeah, I think it's a two-sided thing. I think learning how to communicate is being willing to be vulnerable and share your shit, but also like, especially in a relationship, having someone that gives you the space. And then that's the trade-off. And then that makes it so much better.
No, I love that. And
Yeah.
it's so true because I feel like men in general deal with this. I feel like we have a hard, and some men never learn how to communicate.
No.
And I feel like that's one of the biggest things that we struggle with. And like I said, I feel like a lot of it comes from, your childhood. And it's not that men don't care when they're in the relationship. They just don't know how to express their feelings or even talk about it,
Was generations of like doing it this way.
Yep, 100%. And I feel like a lot of guys also, they hold so much in because they don't want to look weak.
I mean, I still guilty of it, bro.
Same. It's hard for guys to even talk to other guys.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to look weak in front of another guy.
Yeah.
And you don't want to look weak in front of your wife.
But then it becomes like you realize how much of a strength it actually is to talk about shit.
Bro, it is. And that's the big thing. Because what happens is if you don't talk about it, one day you will explode.
Yeah.
And you're gonna break down. And so that can go one or two ways.
Yeah.
It'll go either good or bad.
It can, man. And I think it's such a cool point in time. Like things are chaotic. We were all talking about at the beginning, right? Just like removing labels, like that's like my hope, right? And I think we're at the end. I think there's always a chaos and order thing. I think things got to get chaotic, but I think there's always like to me it's all cyclical.
Yeah.
So that sun's gonna rise again, right?
Yeah.
And I think so. It's got to get to a point to where it tips, where there's that balance again. And that's just how it goes over time. And I think we're at a crazy point in time because like you talk about generations, men like acted a certain way. They confronted emotions a certain way. They just lived a certain way, dude. Things have changed so fast over the past several years that like our generation, like you got fathers that are so much more present in their kids' life.
100%.
Like I got the gift to be able to do that. But like I'm still like thinking like my dad and my grandfather and so on and so forth about that I need to be this provider and protector. Like it's still, you're maintaining what's been passed down for such a long time.
Right.
But now you're learning how to be a present father and husband, like, and play a whole new role. We're adding that in.
Absolutely.
So it's like bridging those two things. You can't just be this tough guy and be like super invested in your family. Like, you got to learn how to be vulnerable. So we're like meshing all this shit together. Especially but I think it's really cool for the future. Yours. Oh, dude. My daughter's the cutest.
Can't be tough around her.
Yeah. No, she melts me.
Yeah.
I'm such a, like...
Bruh, there's no way.
I can be tough for her.
Yeah, you can be tough for her.
But, dude, she was walking around, like, pinching my eyes and stuff and squishing my head at the expo, and I'm just like, I don't care what anybody sees, man. I'm like, dude, I'm all yours, girl.
Yeah,
like,
you got it. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Dude. Nah, I love that, bro. And I did. I love seeing you with her at the expo because... It was cool just to see you in that space with her, acting that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
I appreciate that, man. It was really special to me. But hey, let's rewind a little bit. Okay. I liked that diversion though. That was valuable. So thank you for asking me that.
No, for sure.
Appreciate
it's two questions I always ask, and I usually ask men. It's that question, and then also. I feel like everybody has a moment in their life where things shift. And so I love asking like when, what was that moment for you or something like that.
Yeah.
And so those are the things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and there's definitely several shifts.
There's several shifts.
And just embracing them all for what they are. But Charles.
Yes, sir.
Again, life's been crazy for you.
Yes.
You own Rucker Nutrition.
Yep.
You got, forget the name of it, name the other business ventures you got going on just for a second. And then tell us what life looks like for you today.
Yeah. Okay. So, I have King Core Labs, which is a peptide company.
Okay.
We just launched that this past weekend, actually. I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
And then I have Rucker Nutrition. I actually am rebranding Rucker Nutrition completely. Going to change the colors, probably going to change the name too, I'm thinking. So I got that going on as well. I'm in the process of writing a book called Heal Your Reality that I'm planning on launching this year. And I've been doing more speaking. And that's one thing I want to focus more on, speaking and then coaching, bro. Like, I love coaching. I started coaching last year. And just being able to help people one-on-one online, I love it. because I help people that have gut and hormone issues.
I can talk to you.
Well, holler at me.
Yeah, bro.
What's your blood type? A?
A negative, yeah.
Yeah, I know it. Most people who have most people who have gut issues, their blood type's usually A or AB.
Really?
Yeah. And
For
so I'm an A.
Okay.
And so I had gut issues the whole time I was competing.
Yeah.
And so the last show that I did was the Arnold, and that prep just took so much out of me. And my gut issues they really became a problem during prep. And so my coach sent me to a specialist. I forgot what it's called, where they put a tube up you and pull out all your shit out of your intestines.
Jesus, dude.
Bro, it's the most awkward thing I've ever went through in my life. Because you're weight.
Yeah. You're like, how?
And it's this little old lady, and you're laying on your side, and she literally has this tube up your ass and pulling it out. And she's talking to you. She's having a conversation with you. You're the most vulnerable position ever.
What a job.
Bruh, what a job.
You know?
And so, but she was actually a blessing because she's the one that first started talking to me about the blood type. And so after she talked to me about it, I started digging in on that. And so I created a whole program called the Shift Program, and it focuses on that.
Yeah.
And so, man, it blew up and took off as soon as I started doing it. And
Let's go, dude.
Freaking love it.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
So you got your hands. I mean, I've always known you to be pretty busy too. So that's good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, given, the things we're going to talk about, the fact that you are still being proactive and stuff and building, like, I think that's an amazing thing. So good on you, bro.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Now, you said this is a season of rebuilding and expanding at the same time.
It is.
So most people pick one or the other with that.
Right.
What does that feel like doing both?
It feels good. It started out with rebuilding before expanding, because I had to do a lot of internal work.
Yeah.
For myself. And so that's where the rebuilding really started. And figuring out who I was and what I wanted.
Yeah.
And then, once you start working on yourself and really start digging in on you, then I feel like it helped me to be able to start expanding more at that point, because you know more what you want. For a few years, I wasn't happy. Like, just to be honest, I wasn't happy with Rucker nutrition. I wasn't really happy with competing. I wasn't happy with anything.
Yeah.
And so, that's the question that you asked me a minute ago, and you said, what does life look like now? Peaceful.
Yeah.
Bro, it's peaceful. And I told somebody the other day, and I literally said, like, once you find peace, dude, you will fight and crawl to keep that.
Yeah.
Because once you actually find it, it's nothing like it.
Do you feel like in that piece, a lot of shit's caught up with you? Like, hit you? Like, it's almost like you slammed the brakes and a bunch of stuff's hit you?
Yeah. I about to say, so, well, and that's the thing, like, going through and being peaceful and where you are in your life at that time, you start pulling back layers of your life and who you are, your old versions of yourself, your identity.
Yeah.
I've realized over the last year that identity is one of the most important things that you can absolutely figure out.
Yeah.
And when I say identity, I'm not talking about, like, for me, my identity came from football first.
Yeah.
And then it came from bodybuilding, and then it came from Rucker nutrition. And so, but your identity can't be attached. You got to figure out who you are.
Yeah, when you strip away the superficial material
when you
shit.
strip away those layers, you really figure out who you are, and you really figure out your identity. That's when you find peace.
Yeah.
And so, it's been a journey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it has. But
It has.
From the outside, it looks like momentum. What do you think all that feels like on the inside, I guess?
I'll be honest with you, it was lonely for a long time.
Yeah.
Because for me, when I really was figuring out who I was and really working on myself, you start resonating with some people.
Yeah.
You stop having conversations that you had before. You stop being in environments you were in before. You stop being around people that you was around. So you have to, like, literally, I'll be honest with you, probably for a solid 3 months, I worked in my room and didn't really leave.
Yeah.
Stayed in my room, worked, didn't really leave, spend time with nothing but myself.
Mm-hmm.
And But it was one of those things, like, it was lonely, but at the same time, it was one I didn't want to have conversations or be places that just didn't feel right anymore.
Yeah.
And I feel like you have to really go through that journey, figure out who you are, and realize the things that you are going to allow into your life. And that's boundaries.
Oh yeah,
You
dude.
know what I'm saying? And boundaries are huge. And you really but you can't have boundaries unless you know what it is that you want.
Yeah, and you learn those boundaries over time. A lot of
You
time,
do.
like sometimes you don't even know you have one until it's like you're faced with a situation where you're like, well, that's where I got to draw a line on shit, and you
Can't do that no more.
you gotta let it be, and you gotta let it be known,
Facts, you do.
I don't think, well, I think boundaries are a newer thing too, really, if you think about it, like, because a lot of family structures don't have boundaries.
Right.
It's like, oh, we let so and so around, even though he's I hate to say it, like an addict and alcoholic, and he's not that kind, but he's family, and it's like, well, I don't want that around my life,
Yeah.
or my family.
Yeah.
I don't want that around my daughter, so I'm not going to allow it. Like, I can still love them. Doesn't mean I have to allow certain actions, right? I mean, and that's a boundary, and people get offended by that shit.
They do.
They
get offended.
And it's like, well, just because you all do something doesn't mean I have to fall in line.
Right.
And so boundaries are like, and it's taught at home first.
It is. It is taught at home. And for me, I think a lot of people look at self-care and things like that as selfish.
Yeah.
It's not. Yo, you got to look out for you. Like, at the end of the day, like, and this is another thing that I really focused and really thought about too during that period of time was, everybody's on their own journey.
Yeah.
I'm a true believer in that.
Yeah.
And so for you have to understand that everybody's not going to be in your life forever.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are just in your life for a season.
Mm-hmm.
Environments are not going to be the same forever. They're just for a season.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with cutting those ties and cutting that away. And knowing what you want and knowing who you are and working on yourself and figuring out who you are. It's not selfish. That's what you have to do that.
It's like what she and I were talking before you walked back in, and I was talking about the term self-centered is usually looked at negative.
Right.
I talked about it the last couple episodes, but like, it's really sticking with me, and I'm writing a piece I'm going to put out, but you need to be self-centered. And that means centered in who you are. And that's better for everybody around you.
Facts.
So it's not a negative thing.
Right.
And I think we've always butchered that. Like, oh, they're so self-centered.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that a bad thing?
No.
Because selfish, like you said, selfish is like taking.
Yeah, taking.
And, just taking what you can get. And that's
Right.
it, right? And so, like, I think that's a very important concept to talk about. So you're trying to become more self-centered. And it doesn't matter how other people look at it at the end of the day, man. It makes you better for yourself and everybody around you ultimately. And those people that don't want to be around, well, it is what it is. And you talked about like cutting those ties. I think that's another piece of it too, and it's something like I'm still working through resentment with people, and it's a protection thing. It stems from childhood and shit.
Right.
Like, oh man, I'm so like, I hate this person. I just want to.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? That does no good for me. I'm not going to go do that. Choke them out,
Yeah.
But it's like, being able to look at those people and like be like, look at them as a mirror, every one of them. Like, okay, I'm feeling this way because they did this, or they whatever, or they turned their back on me. But like, why am I feeling this way?
Right.
What is it in you, Joe?
Yeah. Exactly.
So you can almost be grateful for every single one of them.
Yeah.
For what they showed you in yourself, if you're willing to see it.
That's what it is.
But that's a hard thing to do. But
It's
you just
really
you got to do it.
You got to. And but that's growth too. Like, you even being able to say and be like, I got to look at myself.
Yeah.
Why is this person causing me so much anxiety or
what's
anger?
the takeaway?
What about it? And so, but you have to be really secure with who you are to be able to even say that and look that way. Yeah. One of my friends, Joffrey, Joffrey.
Joffrey's a good man.
Yeah, he's a good man. He always says something that I always stuck with was, never let someone change your energy by walking in a room or being in a room. Like, know who you are.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who comes in and out the room.
Be unfazed. Yeah.
Yeah, be unfazed.
It's a good thing.
And one of the most powerful things is to stop caring what people think. That's one thing too for me. over the last year that really, I feel like helped me more than anything.
Yeah.
Is stop giving a shit what people think.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, people are going to have an opinion, whether it's good or bad. You know, they're going to have an opinion whether you're on the mountain or low.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to always have an opinion.
Yeah.
People are going to always not like you. You know, there's going to be certain people that's not going to like you. There's certain people that don't like me that have never even met me, never even had a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, for sure.
And so, like, once you get to a place where you really don't care,
yeah,
bro, that part right there is huge for you.
And it's a different, and for sure. And I think it's important to say, like, it's also that type of don't care. Like, you don't care about what people think, but not in the way where you're just acting so extra.
Yeah,
to show that, because by doing so, you really do care.
Yeah,
you know
you
what I'm saying?
Care. Yeah,
like because there's some people. It's
like
dude,
you said that because that is true.
You're like, just chill out. You know, like
we get it.
Yeah,
we get it.
Wow, you're so cool. You're such a free spirit. You know what I'm saying? But like, care about how you carry yourself and your character.
Absolutely.
I think those things that are your identity. But like don't be fazed by other people's thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when I really sit and think about not caring what people think. It's like, for me, even like with athletes, for my companies, I'll have athletes that, when they first start posting on social media, they're like, oh my God, I can't talk in front of a camera. I don't want to like post. I don't want to do this. And I literally have to tell them, I'm like, yo, you have to think about it. Like if you have a message to say, you got to think about the person that's going to hear the message, that's going to get something for it.
Yeah.
Take yourself out of the equation. Like you're sitting here thinking about, and usually when you sit and say that, there is somebody that's in your mind that you're worried about.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you really sit and think about like, I really don't want to post this post because I don't want them to see me in this state or whatever. There's somebody in your mind that you're thinking about.
You're not chasing success anymore. So when did that shift happen? Or was there any like particular moment where you felt that shift?
So like I said, 2020, when I went through, multiple deaths back to back, and even, trying to harm myself, it was just one of those things. Like, it's not that I'm not chasing success. It's just that your idea of success looks different,
Yeah.
At one point in time in my life, trophies and winning shows and money and all that was my idea of success, followers, fans, all of that. And you just, like I said, when you start peeling back layers and you realize what really success looks like, when you start looking at layers and really look at what success really looks like, I think that's when you really find success.
Yeah, like
you know what I'm saying,
defining it in the way you want to, not maybe
what you see on social media or what the world's taught you what success is. Like having the house, having the car, having all these things,
having the truck,
having a truck, having the followers. That's not success.
Yeah,
because like I told you, there's tons of people that have a whole bunch of money, have big ass houses, have nice ass cars, fans all over, and commit suicide. And so that don't look like success.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think success is more about, like I said, being true to who you are.
Yeah.
Finding peace, finding the people around you that, truly love and care about you.
Yeah.
That's success, man.
And just leveling that up.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, dude, I mean, the idea of success at one point put me in the hospital because my blood pressure was so high, I was gushing blood out of my nose. I couldn't see straight, I drove in the truck over to the VA. I was like, thumbs up.
Thumbs up, man.
They're like, we need to get you on some medicine now.
Yeah.
But so it can, even if you don't do it yourself, it can take you out,
For sure.
I mean, so it is one of those things. I think a lot of people allow what they see to define what success is for them without digging deep enough to go like really find out what that is for them.
And I think a lot of people feel the pressure, and this goes back to not caring what people think about you or your life, because I feel like a lot of people feel the pressure of outside noise of what success looks like or what they should look like being successful.
Yeah.
And that'll drive you crazy.
Exactly.
That will absolutely drive you fucking crazy.
But again, stripping everything away and like really seeing that, like looking in the mirror and seeing what that actually is.
Pulling those layers back.
Well, yeah, and being willing to work on it. Since we last spoke, there was a bit of a gap. When was the last time we actually saw each other?
I was trying to think about that the other day. Fuck, I don't know, bro.
I'm trying to like pinpoint it. It wasn't at an event. It was probably just at like your store you had.
Probably. Oh, it probably was.
Probably it was like the last time we really saw each other, and then
So that had to be a couple years ago.
Then you kind of just disappeared.
I know. I had so many people said you just ran away, just took off. Yeah. No, I did. You know, for me, I felt like I had to get away to really find out who I was, find out what I wanted.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I love Tennessee. And I think getting away made me love and appreciate Tennessee so much more. Because even coming back this weekend, you know, we went out downtown last night and just looking at the city, like it just looks different to me now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, especially as much as I've been traveling and everything, like it just looks completely different. I appreciate it so much more. And I think for me, I had to get away to really break a lot of that identity and stuff for me, you know?
Yeah. What would you think as far as identity goes, like the bodybuilder, the
Bodybuilding,
all this stuff,
nutrition, like just all of it.
What's been the hardest thing to bury as far as like your identity goes?
Like what part?
Yeah. I think what part of you were you so invested in that you've had to like, what's probably the biggest thing that's been the most difficult to just bury down and be like, that's no longer who I am?
I think two things. I think one, deciding to take Rut Nutrition and rebrand and completely change everything about it. I think bodybuilding.
Yeah.
You know, there's moments where I still want to get on stage.
Is there like some kind of grief with it maybe in a way?
I think it is. It is. No, you definitely go through a grief period with all of that.
Yeah.
Because I know probably the last year and a half, you know, when I did pull myself out of all that.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, honestly with you, after I shut down the stores with Ruck Nutrition, I didn't do really anything with Ruck at all. I wasn't posting about Ruck on social media or anything.
Yeah, I know. Do you want to dive into kind of like what I guess had happened over that time frame to, you know, to whatever degree you want to, like tell us where, you know, I'm sure some people listening are going to be curious. They probably wanted to ask questions like, yeah, what's been the shift, you know?
You know, for me, you know, one, I went through a divorce. And so when you go through a divorce, you know, you go through a period where you stop pointing fingers and you start really looking at yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you start realizing things that you might could have did different.
Yeah.
Or things that you need to work on with yourself. And that's just being aware. But also I felt like, just like I said, for last 2-3 years, I was miserable. I was so unhappy. I was unhappy. Even when I had the stores, I was unhappy. You know, even competing, I was unhappy. Yeah. It got to the point where I didn't even like going to the gym. Legit. Like everything that I loved and I attached my identity to, it got to the point where I literally would get anxiety of being around it.
Why so?
That's tough. I think it was a place where it was a shift in my life to where you start thinking about like, well, why am I competing? You know, Rut Nutrition, like, what does this really look like? And I think a lot of it is tied to old versions of yourself.
Yeah.
And so when you start killing those old versions of yourself, the desire for those things go away.
Mm. It's almost like by competing, it gave you some sort of validation to keep things going.
Right.
Right. Like you felt like that was so necessary to like grow.
Yeah.
when in reality, maybe it was holding you back from growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no, that's true. And, because anytime, you do a show, I mean, you're prepping for 21 weeks. And so for 21 weeks, your life is pretty much shut down from anything.
Yeah.
Everything takes a hit. Your relationship takes a hit. Your work takes a hit. Because you were thinking about competing is 24/7.
Yeah.
7 days a week. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it is. And so it's like that for 21 weeks. That's the only thing you're focused on. You got to be selfish when you do, bodybuilding competition.
Yeah.
Because one thing can screw up the whole prep. And so, it's just, I think it was just more of, I needed, one, like I said, figure out who I was,
Yeah.
figure out what I wanted, and most importantly, figure out what I want in my life going forward.
Yeah.
And it was cool going to the fit show this weekend, and being around bodybuilders and people in the industry and talking to them again.
Does it make you miss it, or do you feel like you're in a place where like, yeah, I'm good?
It does make me miss it. But I think I miss it for different reasons. Kind of like what you were saying, where, I competing almost became like a chore for me.
Yeah.
I started out working out when I was in middle school because I just love working out.
Yeah.
And so then I remember when I first got like my big sponsorship by Lone Star or Concrete, competing became a job.
Yeah.
And so anytime you take something you love to make it to where you're almost being forced to do it.
Yeah.
It takes that love kind of away.
It's almost like, my life, like I love to train, but dude, like the last couple of months have been like the slowest bit of training I've had,
Right.
and, but it's also like, and I've been so hard on myself about it. And I'm like, dude, you train hard, but you almost made it like such an important chore that like anything that derailed you from it. I don't know. For example, it's like, man, if I haven't seen my daughter like really much in a couple days,
Right.
and then like I'm about to train and she really wants daddy to go do this with her.
Right.
And I know if I train, it's almost pretty much bedtime for her.
Mm-hmm.
It's like being okay with being like, you know what? Training can take the back seat today.
Right.
Because like I can do that when she's grown and gone.
Absolutely.
All I want, right? But like she's only this 3-year-old little girl.
Right. She don't understand.
Right now. Like I got to treat every day like it's my last almost, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And there's things that are priorities. Like I got responsibilities. I have to do my work, right? But it's learning how to be willing to shift that stuff, right? And so I'm not going to get to train 5-6 days a week. And guess what? I'm finally at a place where that's okay.
Yeah.
I just go day by day. It's like, okay, I can train today. I got the time. I can get home at this time and, structure the way to get it done. But like, no, dude, my daughter might want to shift the plans, and that's got to be okay too. And that is actually more important. That's the reason behind all of it, right? And so I think it's just like kind of being comfortable letting go of the reins,
Right.
Because with bodybuilding, you have control over your program in a way.
Yeah.
Like, you get what I'm getting at? Like there's also a control aspect to it. Like I control my diet, I control my training, and control
routine.
like
Everything
can fuck you up.
It can completely fuck you up, because when you have that set routine, that set control of I gotta get this done at this time, I gotta eat this time, this and that. Like when you do that, you miss a lot of moments.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Like my grandmother passed away in 2020, and when I was really heavy in competing and was a sponsor athlete, I traveled so much that there's a lot of moments that I miss with her, like with my brother taking her to the beach and different things that, now looking back at it, man, I would do anything to have those moments with her. And so that's tough.
I hear a lot of people, man, like that younger dude that lost his father. It's like something I hear and it makes me reflect. My parents are right up the road.
Right.
And it's like, you don't know he's like, you don't realize what having a father is until he's gone,
Right.
And it's like, that's the facts. You know, your
True.
grandmother was such an important piece of your life.
Absolutely.
It sucks because you're just at a place you're like, damn, you don't realize it until they're gone.
Until they're gone.
Fuck. And it's like,
You know, and that's even like with my mom. My mom had a stroke a few years ago, and my mom, like, I'm her favorite kid,
yeah,
and so she would call me constantly, all day, every day. And I remember it would aggravate me. She'd just call, just
Yeah.
to see if I was okay or anything, and I used to take it for granted. And so like now, you know, I can't. She can't call me.
yeah,
I can't even call her and have that conversation.
yeah,
You know, even with her, she's alive, but she's in hospice. She can't really talk.
mm,
You know, and so you know, I would, you know, I would do anything to have those phone calls. Her calling me 10 times a day.
yeah,
You know, and so you don't realize it. And you don't think about it till once it's gone.
yeah.
And
I,
so,
it's something interesting with me spiritually. Like I'm at, you know, I don't know what's next. I've embraced that. Like I don't know. I don't want to know what's next. You know,
right.
I think like having an expectation of what happens when I die is just like insane because I can't have an expectation on what happens tomorrow.
Right.
You know, and like I have faith. I have my faith, but also have faith in that, like, to embrace the unknown. Right.
Right.
And so it makes me so much more intentional about how I live. But that can also, it can be really hard because it's like you want to pour into someone, you want to maximize it. You want to maximize your time with your family or like into what you do and to your family members and stuff like that. And it's like, how do you pour into each of them the right amount, right?
Exactly.
It's like trying to figure out how to do so.
Oh, you're right. And you know, one thing that I learned too over the last few years is really living in the moment.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that for a long time I didn't do. You know, I was always thinking about what's next, what I got going on, and different things. And you know, when you do that, when you don't live it, you don't even, it's hard for you to even create memories.
Yeah.
You're not present. You're physically present, but you're not mentally there.
So if you don't mind me asking, and I want to circle back around to that, you know, there's a lot of the audience that probably, you know, channel's grown a lot since, you know, we last spoke on here.
Yeah.
And some people may not want to go back and watch it, you know. So just briefly walk us through that. Like, who was Charles before the athlete, before all the world got him, right? Like when he was a kid, you know, and, you know, and lightly talk about, you know, your experience obviously with your accident and, you know, some of the loss, some of the things that have hit you the most too, influenced you the most as well. Just to kind of bring it to the point we're at now.
Yeah. So, you know, growing up, I was really good in football.
Yeah.
Love football. Been in sports my whole entire life. And, you know, the hometown that I'm from is Morristown. It's a very small town. You know, it was really, had a lot of drugs, had a lot of violence. And I always, from day one, I actually got asked a question on a podcast probably about a year ago. And a girl asked me, she was like, she did obviously her research. She was like, what do you think made it for you to be able to get out of your hometown and become something that some of your friends didn't?
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, I don't know what to say on that. For me, from as long as I can remember, I always knew I was meant to do something more.
Yeah.
And I always knew I was not going to live in my hometown. And so for me, football was going to be my way out.
Yeah.
My grades wasn't going to get me a scholarship to go nowhere.
That ain't going to be it.
My parents couldn't pay for it. So I knew football was it. And so I focused on that. And, you know, I ended up getting a scholarship. And, you know, my first year playing college football, I hit the tractor trailer head on. You know, put me in and out of the hospital for a year. Ended me back up in my hometown again. And so that was a dark place for me. Like, you know, you sit and think about, like, you work so hard to get out of that situation. And then not only are you back, but you're back. I'm down 100 pounds because I had to eat through a straw. You know, I had to have multiple surgeries on my face. So I couldn't talk or eat for a very long period of time. And so that spiraled me in some depression during that time.
Yeah. Trying to figure out who you are absent of what you poured everything into.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, that's where a shift for me started, because that's when I moved to Murfreesboro. And, you know, that's when I met Brandon Curry. And then Brandon, you know, took me on his wing, got me into bodybuilding. And I love bodybuilding, especially when I first started, you know, because I loved working out. Like, I worked out all the time. Like,
Yeah.
you know, never really thought about getting on stage or anything like that, but I
Yeah.
just love working out. And so, you know, and then I won my first show in bodybuilding, and then I ended up getting sponsored, got my big sponsorship, probably a few shows after that. So my bodybuilding career was really unique because I got a scholarship. I mean, I got a sponsorship when, you know, I wasn't a pro or anything, and I was on this team with all pro athletes, and it's just, I don't know, everything just kind of fell in place for me,
Yeah.
you know, and that kind of just took off from there.
So,
And it was fast paced for the next, you know, 5 or 6 years.
so it sounds like, you know, you're how old are you? 40?
40.
40. Okay.
You about to put me 41.
I was like, 42. No, I mean, hey, I'm creeping up. I'm almost at 40. Hey man, it flies by.
It does.
It sounds like too, you know, and I think it's a crazy place for you right now because you're 40 and you're figuring out who Charles truly is, right?
Yeah.
And you're coming full circle to that because I think a lot of people fall into that trap, whether it's through sports or academics or whatever the case is. Their identity becomes what's going to like make them an adult or bring them, you know, put them in there to a career, right?
Yeah.
And then that gets shattered, and
Yeah.
then they're like, who am I now? And then you found your identity in bodybuilding, right?
Yeah.
And so that's who you are. And then life happened, and then now you're at a place at 40 being like, dude, neither one of those
Are my identity.
And it's just
Right.
like, it's almost like God is shaking you like, hey,
Yeah.
like,
I need you to figure out who you are.
dude, because my identity was different things in different
Right.
periods of time, right? And, you know, when I started my brand, my identity was Joe that got in an accident and overcame it and had relentless pursuit mindset, right? And then like life happened and it was even harder than the wreck.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wait, like I got hit by a car
Yeah.
thinking this is it. This is what it showed me this.
Right.
I figured it out. Like, this is my identity.
Yeah.
And then life got even harder.
Yep.
And it's just like the gods are shaking me like, Joe, no, like,
Yeah.
that's not who you are either. Like, wake up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to pay attention and things will happen to you like that, I think. And you'll get your whole world rocked to get you to refocus on like what your true purpose and identity is.
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer that, you know, people's lives are patterns,
Yeah.
you know, and I think if you don't learn the lessons from the patterns that you make, you will go through that pattern again.
Yeah.
And until you do. And I can go back through my life and look at multiple patterns that I went through and kept going through. They show up different, but they're still the same pattern.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And like until you get that lesson that you're supposed to learn from that, it's gonna show up again.
Yeah,
It's just gonna show up differently.
for sure, man. Would you say that you mentioned at one point earning love, earning acceptance? When did you first feel like you had to earn that?
I feel like when that's tough because you know I felt like that, you know, in football. I wasn't the biggest, the fastest, you know, so you know you train hard to be accepted.
Yeah.
You know, and then you know, like I said, even with the bodybuilding thing, like when I first got sponsored, you know, I'm only one that's not a pro on the team. So, you know, I would try to go over and beyond to be accepted.
It's like performance identity.
Yeah, it's a performance identity. It's exactly what it is. And like I said, patterns, you know, showed up in football, showed up in volleyball. You know what I'm saying? Like it just came in differently.
Yeah.
You know, and I attached my identity to both of them. And so until I could, you know, figure out that, yo, this is not my identity. Yeah. I got to figure out who I am. I tell you, I had somebody ask me a question and it really stuck me because, and this was probably a year ago, they asked me, what do you love to do? That simple question.
Yeah.
I couldn't answer it. I literally couldn't answer what I love to do.
Could you answer it right now?
Yeah, no, I could. You know, I'll be honest with you. One of the things that I love to do is being in Canada in the field, just looking at the freaking sky.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's something that I would have never said, you know, 2 years ago. You know, just just being around people that having those deep conversations.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, I actually love writing. You know, I love, like I said, I'm writing a book, Kill Your Reality. And, you know, it took me a long time to do that. Long time. But once I started doing it, you know, I literally locked myself in a room for about 72 hours and just wrote.
Yeah.
And wrote.
I love
And
that.
wrote. And it was tough because I had to relive a lot of things. But I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm stoked for that.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to say before I cut the segment is like, sometimes what I realized, like the more things you kind of face and the more chaos you go through and just the more things you experience.
Yeah.
When it comes down to a question like, what do you love to do? I feel like it makes those things a lot simpler.
It does.
Like it doesn't need to be grand.
No.
Like you've got to, at one point you feel like you got to think of something grand. And
right.
It's almost like to impress people like, oh, I love to do this. Cause they're like, people, you know what I'm saying? Like how the outside look at it, man. But like, I'm the same way. I love to just go walk out like I did in my field this morning, barefoot and just fucking just stand there. It was raining a little bit too. And I was just like, God, this is
no
perfect.
other feeling.
Like that's what I love to do.
Bro. Doing drugs.
Doing some witchcraft.
Doing some witchcraft.
Listen, buddy.
All of our cows are going to die now.
We're Baptists right here. All right.
We don't need that.
Yeah. You've got a pretty large following and stuff. Your whole brand and presence has been very public facing, right?
Yes.
And so I know your past marriage was also a big piece of that. It was tied into your brand a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you spoke a couple times about the divorce. So what I want to say is, or how I want to ask this question, and you don't have to get into the specifics, but obviously it imploded.
Yeah.
You know, it came to a very abrupt stop, and that affected your brand. It affected your relationships, I'm sure, with a lot of people here in Tennessee and so on and so forth. You know, obviously people are going to have opinions and their perception and all this stuff, but I guess now's the time for you to kind of share like what that experience has been like for you into whatever depth you'd like. And then, but most importantly, like what has happened to you throughout that journey.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, with our divorce,
when was it? Or like, when did that all kind of,
so I left October. Yeah. And so our divorce, like we grew apart, grew completely apart. That's kind of like what I was talking about. Like one thing I have learned is love is not enough.
Oh yeah.
If y'all grow apart, it's not enough. And one thing I will say, you know, with that is, you know, we both kind of battled different things. You know, she felt like she was in the shadow of me for a long time.
Yeah.
And for me, what I did, because, you know, it was vocal that she felt like she was in the shadow. So I started shrinking myself. And I think that's when
to give her more like light, maybe.
Yeah. Or start pulling light away from me.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that the area of time where I was sitting there talking about like, you know, with the stores and bodybuilding, I was miserable. It was because I was battling that.
Yeah.
You know, I was battling, you know, trying to help her feel seen. But at the same time, I ended up shrinking myself. I was shrinking myself to the point where I didn't even know who I was.
Yeah.
Completely. And that part's crazy when I sit back and look at it. Because it's almost like I was in a fog for a few years. Almost like I was in a dream.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, when I left in October, I left and I started just driving. And
Where did you drive to?
so I drove to Tampa
Okay.
because I was like, I'm gonna move to Tampa. I always wanted to live in Tampa. Like, I'm gonna move to Tampa. And so halfway through the drive, and I was telling somebody this the other day, my nervous system like unlocked. And it was to the point where it was almost like spiritual, bro. Like this release of like peace went over my whole entire body. Like colors seemed like they got bright. Like it was insane to the point where I don't think I realized how messed up my nervous system was for so long in our relationship.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, one, obviously it was a smart decision probably for both of us.
Yeah.
But two, I also didn't realize how much it was affecting me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like obviously when you're in the thick of things, you don't really realize, you know, how much it's affecting who you are, or it's affecting even your body.
And you convince yourself it's temporary, and then it's gonna just get better all of a sudden.
Yeah, and that actually makes no sense. But you know, and you know, I went to counseling. She went to counseling, and we just grew and started growing in two different areas. And you know, with me shrinking myself, you know, I started putting myself in environments around people that I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
You know, and it went further on with me, basically, you know, to the point where back to what I was saying, where I didn't even know who I was.
Yeah.
You know, and looking back on it, it was like almost like I was in a dream. I was like in a fog. And so, you know, for me, like now, I think everything's so much more clear. I know exactly what I want. I know exactly who I am, you know, and I think when it goes back to identity, you know, even in a marriage, I think you can lose your identity really easy in a marriage or in a relationship.
It's interesting because I'm just relating to it, you know, my past relationship. It's, you know, there's some things that were wrong on both sides, right? I mean, and I think you can accept that too, you know, like it doesn't, no one plays, it's not necessarily playing the victim, but like, I think a lot of men, I think it's important to highlight, a lot of men try to become what they think their spouse wants them to be.
Right. Fact.
And I'm not saying women don't either. As a man, I'm speaking for men. You know, I'm not going to speak for women, but I think we do, like, we feel like we got to be this person for our spouse,
right, in
order for there to be happy. And that's why they have sayings like "happy wife, happy life."
Exactly,
which is something I despise. When people say that, I'm like, we just are not going to click.
Yeah,
because like that's such bullshit.
It is.
You know, you both need to be happy and thriving, right?
Absolutely.
There's going to be things you got to work through. That's part of it.
Neither one of y'all should have to sacrifice happiness
in who you are.
And who you are.
Yeah. Like, and so I feel that because I was there, you know, in my past relationship, I wasn't me.
Right.
And I was like, dude, I'm never going to be me if I continue this.
Right.
Like fully. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like where you're at. You were so far from yourself.
It was so like, far from myself.
It destroyed you in a lot of ways.
And I was so far from myself. And that's one, I'll be honest with you, that's one of the reasons why I have played with the idea of bodybuilding again. And it's because like, I'm like, yo, was it really that I wasn't happy with bodybuilding, or was it that I just wasn't happy
in general?
In general, because of our relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't know that I'm gonna get back on stage or anything, but that is one of the reasons. Because once you realize how, and it goes back to like what I said, is like the wrong environment can change who you are, change what you think, change what you like. It can change so much.
And it can steal joy away from the things you do love.
Exactly.
And you feel like you don't. Because I was going to say this when you were talking earlier, like, you know, I think the home life is like the most important part if you're married or you have a family, right? Because I think this all the time. Like, I'm fortunate to be able to do what I love. I'm very passionate about it. And even given the struggles, like I keep going with it because I have that.
Right.
But I could work the worst job in the world, but if I come home to like my wife and daughter, like this loving home, it's all good,
bro.
you know. But and if you think about it on the flip side, you weren't happy in the home, so it made something that you built and you loved miserable.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So like I think that there's so much power there.
Absolutely.
Just to where you lay your head down at night,
bro.
And like the energy in that space affects everything else that
Absolutely.
you do.
Dude, like your home, that is supposed to be your peace. That is supposed to be your happiness.
Yeah.
That is where you lay your head at night. That's where because like the moment you walk out that door, you're dealing with people and you're dealing with situations. And sometimes you don't even have control over what you're going to deal with as soon as you leave that home.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't come back home and feel like that's a place where you can find your peace, find yourself, decompress, and you don't have that, bro, your life will spiral real quick.
Out of control. Yeah. And so this was just this last October, right?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. It doesn't seem that long ago, but then it does seem like a long time ago for some reason. I don't know.
It was like a long time for me.
So like you went to Tampa,
mm-hmm.
and then like how did life kind of shift there? So
So I got to Tampa, and like I said, I spent like probably like 4 or 5 months, just locked in a room.
Yeah.
Dealing with myself. Because one thing about it too was when you go through a divorce, like I said earlier, like you start looking at who you were in that marriage.
Yeah.
You start looking at those old versions of yourself.
Yeah.
You start looking at, things that you need to fix.
Yeah.
As a man and who you are. But at the same time, you also start looking at, the next person I meet.
Yeah.
What are the things that I want out of that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that I did as soon as I left. I wrote like this whole thing out of what I wanted my next spouse to look like, because I wanted to do that as soon as I left, because everything was fresh.
Yeah.
I knew if I waited time, you'll forget certain things.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, that was probably one of the first things I did when I got to Tampa was write that out.
Yeah.
I wrote out like what I wanted, what I didn't want, what I'm allowing to be in my marriage or with somebody, what I'm not allowing, the boundaries, the sacrifices that I'm willing to have or not have, and I think that was a big part too, for me, because, after that, then, once you know what you want, it's easy for you to not accept the things that that have hurt you in the past.
Yes.
One thing about it is you can't heal in a place that broke you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Like you can't heal in a place that broke you. So it's good to get away.
Yeah.
It's good to, lock yourself in a room for months.
Yeah. I mean,
it's
and everybody's going to do that in different ways, right?
Yeah.
If they're willing to, right?
Well, for me, I had to figure out who I was.
Yeah.
Because I told you, like, in the marriage, I completely lost who I was.
Yeah.
I didn't know who I was, especially towards the end, because I shrunk myself to the point where, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know anything. And so I had to go, I call it the lab, and figure out who I was, what I do like, what makes me happy, what conversations I want to have, what conversations I don't want to have.
I think a lot of marriages go down that path for 20 plus years, not speaking for everybody, but there's a lot of marriages that, like, in your situation, they just accept that because of time or whatever the case is, right?
Yeah, I think that's crazy.
And that's why I think suffering's important.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I don't think it's good. I've heard, what's the guy that's very famous public speaker?
Tony Robinson.
Yeah. And I think he said something along the lines of like, want to like eliminate human suffering, right? And I think he's a great man. I think he does a lot of great things, but I think it's just, there's no value. I think absent of having to go through suffering, you don't know what you truly value.
Right.
Right. It's like, I'm grateful for suffering through certain things and relationships because it's helped me see, just like you're talking about, exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Exactly what will bring you, that'll pull you away from that suffering.
Right.
But if you never knew the suffering, then how do you even know? How do
Right.
you really see the beauty in things?
Absolutely.
Right. And so like, I always think I think it's important to embrace that suffering because that suffering is much like a boxing match, right? Like, you know, it's important to throw yourself in the fire. And sometimes I feel like people are so afraid, if you can connect this with like relationships, to just take a hit in the mouth, as bad as it's going to hurt, or like the eye, or whatever, as bad as it's going to hurt temporarily, it will make you better.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing with relationships, right? As bad as that's going to hurt in that period of time, if you're willing to work through it and learn from it,
right,
it's going to make things better.
It is.
If you allow it to.
Yeah, exactly.
And so like, by you driving away, you're taking that hit.
Yeah.
But then look at the freedom and like the perspective that's come from that.
Absolutely.
You know?
And, you know, I think for me, after the marriage, it like me being able to get back to figuring out, and that was one reason, you know, me moving away too, you know, because like I said, you know, here, Charles Rucker, bodybuilding, Ruck nutrition, this influencer, all this. And so I wanted to get away from all of that.
Yeah.
I wanted to get away from people I knew. I wanted to get away from just everything and strip myself down to figure out who it was that I really am. You know, I didn't want influence from any, you know, outside source of me trying to figure who I was.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I know a lot of people think, man, you just jumped ship and just left. It wasn't that. You know, I had to do that for myself.
It was necessary.
It was necessary.
Yeah.
You know, and I had to do that. And I'm thankful that I did that. I feel like where I am today, you know, if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't be where I am today mentally.
Yeah. I don't know who, it'd be kind of crazy.
I don't.
It could have ended terribly,
you know, horribly. Yeah.
But you've come so far.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to like get to see this journey unfold, man, and like see it.
And I'll be honest with you, man, like I ain't bitter about anything with the marriage or anything. You know, that was like I said, that was a lesson. You know, there was lessons within that marriage that I learned.
Yeah.
You know, there was parts of myself that I learned. And like I said, you have to understand and be willing to take those lessons and apply them to your life to become better.
Yeah. And it's with that, it's like, I knew what I wanted, right? You talked about knowing that. And my mom had asked me after things with my ex, and she was like, what if you never find what you're looking for, Joe? And I said, then I'll die alone.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm at peace with that, you know, because like, why spend this existence, I guess, watering myself down or being something I'm not.
Yeah.
When this is the only existence I have.
Absolutely.
Right? Like if I want to maximize this, then I can't be a lesser version of myself.
100%.
You know? And so I'm proud of you for willing to make that jump.
I appreciate it.
I'm sure there's been a lot of ridicule from people on the outside that have like, you know, there's going to be people that have opinions.
Always. Yeah, for sure.
So what are your thoughts on that? Like,
man, it goes back to kind of like what I said, you know, people are always going to have opinions. You know, there's always going to be people talking.
Yeah.
You know, people think certain things, and a lot of times people don't know behind closed doors. They don't know conversations. You know, they don't know, you know, how long you might have been battling with something. Like I said, me shrinking myself to a point where I didn't even know who I was. Like people don't know that. You know, I don't put that on social media.
I bought a lot of stuff in too, man.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you know, people, you know, from the outside, you know, looking at social media, you know, probably thought that we were happy. Yeah. You know, because people forget that on social media,
it's different.
There's highlight clips.
Yeah.
There's highlights of your life, you know, that we don't put everything that we're going through on social media.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for people, you know, that have their opinions on the marriage or have their opinions on, you know, what happened or whatever, they're going to have those regardless.
Yeah. And it's like we talked about, like, some people will turn your backs on you and they'll have their things to say. It's like, dude, if you're willing to like base your understanding off of me, off of one side of things, then I ain't got time. I ain't wasting my breath anyways, dude, because I personally, I can't stand that anyways when people will base their thoughts off of you based off of what somebody else says without even like trying to understand, right? And so it's like, okay, y'all, I ain't gonna waste my breath, and that enough should keep you from like having the resentment and stuff, right?
Absolutely.
So,
and one thing about it, I will say this, when you go through a divorce, obviously, like I said, my life's been public for a long time. You realize who your friends are and who's really there for you and who's really not. Anytime you go through a hard time in your life, you figure that out.
Yeah.
And for me, one of my prayers that I say constantly is, I tell God, like, anybody that's not meant to be in my life, or that isn't supposed to be in my life, remove them.
Yeah.
And bro, when you say that, you'll see a lot of people just leave.
It's okay to burn bridges,
bro. It's completely okay.
I'm completely fine with it.
Completely fine.
I don't need to keep those things intact if they are not meant to be there, bro.
Bro, I can swim. I'm good.
Yeah. So I do got to ask too, hearing you talk, this discussion today, we've talked a lot about faith, and I don't know what your faith has been in the past, right? I've heard you talk about faith and stuff in past written pieces or on your journey or whatever. What does faith look like to you today? Like, has it changed quite a bit or what? Because you seem pretty, like, you're very open-minded with the things I talk about. So I feel like there's more of a, like, God as a whole connection rather than just one thing.
Yeah. Well, my thing, and we talked about this, I feel like your relationship with God is between you and God. Mm-hmm. It's not between you, God, your pastor. It's not between you, God, your spouse. It's not between, you come into this world by yourself, and you're going to leave this world by yourself.
Yeah.
And so the most important relationship you have is with God, but it's between you and him.
Yeah.
It's not between anybody else.
Yep.
And so that's one of the things for me that has became very important. My relationship with God, like, is between me and God.
Yeah.
I talk to God constantly.
Yeah.
And so I have a friend that his name is Johnny, and I think he's an atheist. But we've been friends for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never judged him. I've never tried to talk to him about he should believe this or believe that or whatever. Because my whole thing is everybody's journey and everybody's relationship is between them.
Yeah, for sure.
But we used to work out together.
But outside of that, like, at the end of the day, like, his character and like the kind of
person he's an amazing person.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, regardless of what somebody believes in or regardless of, whatever their faith base is, the most important thing is their character.
Yeah.
I know people that, say they are Christians that are terrible people.
Yeah.
I know people that, that don't believe in anything that have really big hearts, and so who am I to judge?
Your title doesn't matter.
Bro, it does not matter. And so that's my thing is, like, the relationship you have with God is between you and him.
Yeah.
It's not between anybody else.
Yeah, 100%. Man. Is there anything, because I got several questions I want to work through, kind of in line now. Is there anything, I think, from your chapter, from this whole journey you've been on in the past, some time, that basically, is there anything you want to say that would basically be you closing the door to that? Like, how do you close the door and, like, move forward today?
Man, I think that's a good one.
Take your time with it.
Yeah, let me think on that one. For me, that chapter and that door is closed. I'm in a much happier space.
Yeah.
More clear mentally. I have an amazing person that's by my side.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm thankful for that chapter, because that chapter taught me a lot about myself. That chapter helped me grow a lot.
Yeah.
But far as actually closing the door is closed.
The door's
The
closed.
door is absolutely closed.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And I think maybe today you've cleared a lot up for yourself, thinking on it,
Yeah.
and for others too.
Right.
It's not about them at the end
It's
of the day,
not.
but
But I know people got questions,
yeah,
and so uh, I think it was funny. And I was telling her this weekend is like when people would come and talk to me, you could tell they want to ask me about it, but they didn't know how to ask me about it.
yeah.
And so like it almost would make the conversation awkward.
It's like just ask the damn question.
Yeah, like you can ask. Like I promise
Yeah.
you can ask. I'll let you know. But I think for me it was entertaining just to kind of see, because everybody I saw, you tell they want to ask that question.
Yeah.
And like I'm an open book. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
You can ask me, I'll tell you. I don't. So I'm glad. That's one reason why I was glad we had the podcast, and I could talk a little bit about it.
I think it's cool too. I just want to say too, one thing I recognize is like, that's such a small piece of like the whole picture.
Yeah.
There's so much more to the journey.
Bruh.
Like that's definitely an important piece.
Yeah.
But today, there's just so much more to your journey than just that like aspect of it, right? And your growth.
Yeah.
And I think that was just a very pivotal moment for sure, but not the entire thing.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I look at life as a book, a story.
Yeah.
And you have chapters.
Yeah.
That was a chapter.
Yeah. And you just had to
turn the page.
turn the page.
On to the next chapter.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And thank you for speaking on that. I got to ask you some questions. So you've rebuilt your identity more than once.
Yeah.
And you've somewhat answered this, but more directly, at what point does rebuilding stop feeling like loss and start feeling like freedom?
So I definitely think rebuilding starts feeling like freedom when you are free to say what you want to say.
Yeah.
When you are free to do what you want to do. There's been times in my life whether I was in a contract as an athlete, or whether I had business partners, or even being in a marriage where, you had to watch what you say, or you had to be a certain person, or be a certain way, or, not do certain things.
Walk on eggshells.
Yeah, and I feel like true freedom is when you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I told a guy not too long ago, I was like, one of the biggest things that's freedom for me is, I wake up every day. I don't answer to nobody.
Yeah.
I can do what I want to. I can say what I want to. I don't have to have I have certain people in my life that, I value their opinion. So if I am doing something, or I'm working on something, I'm gonna reach out to those certain people.
Yeah.
And, maybe talk to them about it. But I don't need validation from nobody.
Yeah.
I know who I am.
It took a lot to get to that point.
Bro, it took a lot. It took a long time to get to that point.
I think it'd be fun to see you bodybuild from a place of that.
Well, and that's why I entertain the bodybuilding idea, because I know my outlook of going back on stage and even in prep would be completely different than it's been.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I said, I'm playing around with it. We might.
Oh, yeah. I know it was hard for you to pinpoint it, but you did say, I think off camera, you become a lot more emotional.
Yeah, no, I have.
And I'd say
Sure.
I definitely have over the last couple of years for sure. Just
Yeah.
like more and more so. But like, in what way does that look like? How do you show up more emotional? And why do you think that is?
I think it has to do with multiple things. I think one, like I said, my nervous system is back at a really good place.
Yeah.
But I also think it is being in a safe place, being with people that that really care about you.
Yeah.
And you don't feel like you're going to be judged being emotional.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, like sometimes I'll get emotional and I even really understand why.
Mm.
And a lot of that can be, trauma in the past that finally is just letting out.
Yeah. 100%.
Because there's been a lot of times over the last 5 years that you almost have a numb feeling.
Mm.
And when you're numb, you don't feel things the same.
Yeah.
And so if you don't feel things the same, your emotions are not the same.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a place of being safe or feeling safe.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, would you suggest that like the people around you now are very vulnerable? Like they're pretty open about stuff?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think to my point is like you talk a lot about the new people, like the people that have come into your life.
Right.
And you feel more comfortable there. And so when people approach you with vulnerability, that's like, I think, one of the biggest forms of love you can show
100%.
someone, because it allows you to trust them.
Yeah, you're letting them in.
I mean, I've seen on the show, one guy is like, dude, just your vulnerability, man. And like,
Right.
I've had people that record with him before be like, dude, I've never seen that side of him.
Right.
And that's really cool. But I think it's just coming at him from a place of like, dude, this is who I am. This is what
Right.
it's like. And he just felt boom.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's a huge, and props to the people that are in your life now. I think maybe there's some level of vulnerability there that's allowed you to trust them.
Right.
And then as a result, your walls have crumbled down, and then you're able to do that more freely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then that makes you more emotional because you're like feeling all the shit you probably haven't felt.
Absolutely. You're feeling it. You're feeling the emotions. Happy, sad, all like you're feeling again.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's been places in my or times in my life where, I was so numb that I wasn't feeling anything.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling emotions. I was in dark places where there's been moments and times in my life where I didn't even know if I was mentally going to be able to come back from.
Yeah.
And so, now looking back on that, you appreciate the journey more.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you had to battle to get back.
Yeah.
You had a battle to get to the place that you are now, and you got to take pride in that. You also, man, you got to. People are hard on themselves, and I'm a person that has been really hard on myself. But man, you gotta give yourself some grace,
bro.
You gotta give yourself some grace, man.
So hard.
You deal with so much stuff, and I think a lot of times you don't look at how far you actually came.
Mm-hmm.
The things you did battle with, the things you did deal with, the things that people didn't see, the thoughts that you even had at certain times in your life. And so, and now, like being in the place that I am now, I appreciate who I am so much more now.
Yeah.
It made me resilient.
Yeah, but yet you're still working through that.
Still working.
You even just admitted, you still don't show yourself great. My wife highlighted that for me. She's like, Joe, like you allow these people, you show so much compassion towards these people that sit across from you, like everybody.
Yeah.
You can have all the grace in the world for them. It flows out.
Right.
And then for yourself, it's like,
none.
And that's for me, like I got to not lower my standard, but it's like I had this standard that I have to be that way.
Right. I think that also plays a big part with men.
Yeah.
We take pride in, being protectors, providers, and all these things. And, we don't give ourselves any room for grace.
Yeah.
And I think for men, that's a big thing that they have a hard time dealing with.
Yeah. I can't just sit back and be like, I'm doing my damn best and that's okay. Like,
right.
It's always that it's not enough. I'm not doing enough.
You need to be doing more.
All I got to do is shift that. Just keep doing my damn best, dude.
Yeah.
But no, it's never enough in my own mind.
Bro, and that's the thing. Like, I feel like if you truly feel like you're doing your best, bro, that's all you can do.
Exactly.
Exactly. All you can do.
How is all this work, I guess this compilation of events in life, how's that bled into what you're doing now? You talked about the direction you're going and you're working more with men. Like, let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, I really am in the process of starting a men's group. I think I'm gonna call it King Circle.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a place where I want men to feel free to be able to talk to other men.
Yeah.
Talk about things that they're dealing with on a daily basis. Mentally what they're thinking, and being vulnerable in that space, You know, I think I'm gonna start out with just doing a Zoom call once a week with a group of men and just having those conversations. You know, because I got asked to speak at Tennessee Tech last year, and it was a men conference. It was called Man Up, and that was one of the most powerful things I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you sit and talk to more men, you realize they're dealing with the same shit that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
But they're just not talking to nobody about it either.
Yeah.
But once you realize that they're literally, because a lot of times when you're dealing with things and you're going through things in your head, you really think I'm the only one dealing with this. Nobody else is dealing with this. But if you really have those conversations with other men, you realize like, yo, he's really just going through the same thing I went through.
Just in a little different way.
Yeah.
Just as something unique to him, but it's still the same.
So think if you had a group of men and y'all got to the place where y'all were able to be vulnerable with each other to talk about that.
Yeah.
And, you know, and y'all are dealing with some of the same things. And maybe he has a technique that is helping him more that you can use.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I will tell you, and this is in my book, one of the biggest things that I did when I was going through everything was I started recording a video to myself every night.
Yeah.
I started journaling a lot first. I feel like men don't journal, but I think journaling is actually really, really good.
Yeah, I do quite a bit of it.
Man, because you get a lot of stuff out.
Yeah.
And once you start writing, you just writing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really just flowing. You just really getting stuff off your chest. And so, and the way this came about was I was journaling and something happened and I couldn't journal. And so I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to make a video to myself.
Yeah.
And so I did. Every night I would make a video to myself. And then the next morning I would watch the video. And I would talk to myself almost in the third person. I'll be like, hey, Charles, this is Charles. You know, this is the old version of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gone. You know, these are things that I dealt with today. These are things maybe I didn't get done today, but I'm counting on you to make sure you get it done.
Yeah.
And so when you wake up the next morning, you see that. It does two things.
I like that.
It does two things for you. One, it separates yourself from things that have happened in the past.
Mm.
You know, it separates yourself from maybe you had a bad day yesterday.
Yeah.
You're not giving yourself a chance to have a good day because you're still dealing with things that happened yesterday or happened in the past. So once you start doing those videos, you start being able to separate that.
It's almost like a solo accountability check.
It is.
It's pretty interesting. I dig that.
I love it. And yeah, it was one of the methods that I put in the book for the simple fact that it helped me so much. It helped me really be able to disconnect from things that happened in the past.
Yeah.
And I felt like it gave myself grace to have a clear slate going into the next day.
That's really cool, man.
And it's cool because, you know, if you go back and look, you'll see different videos of some of those dark moments. And you can see the pain in your face.
Yeah.
You know? And so, no, that's been one of the things that's helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Is being able to do that.
That's interesting, man. I really appreciate that. I might have to, because I've done that with like those heavy mushroom trips.
Yeah.
I've like recorded myself when I'm like at like in the depths of it, like talking to myself, dude. I mean, I got videos on my phone of me like just like sitting there in tears with a cigarette lit.
Right.
Just like, and I just can look at that, man. Dude, that dude was in a dark place, man.
In a dark place.
He looks sad.
Yeah.
You know, and you're able to reflect on it too and be like, damn, I've come so far from that, you know?
Yeah.
But I think those are like few and far between journeys, right? It's not something I do all the time, but like hearing you talk about that daily video thing, I think that's a really cool practice to implement. I might give that a shot next time I'm outside, like in the field.
Yeah, do it, man. Because I've
doing my dances.
Yeah. Send me some videos of that. Me dancing in the field. I've told a couple people to try that, and it has helped a lot of people that I have had try it.
Yeah.
Like I said, for me, it helped me out a lot. Being able to do that, being able to make that video and, you know, talk to my future self.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's important that you point out that like the common ground between across the board with men. Like, yeah, you know, a lot of us, it's so ridiculous. We do think we're just like we're the only person dealing with this shit.
Only person dealing
like,
with it.
it's just me out here.
Nobody else is dealing with anything
on this
else.
whole fucking planet that's going through this.
Yeah.
I do it all the time, dude.
Right.
And it's just like so ridiculous. You see it with veterans, you see it with all kinds of people, man.
Right.
But like, there's so many people that connect and relate to that. And that's the point of like this show.
Yeah.
It's to show
And I
people that,
love
like,
that.
they're not alone.
Yeah.
Right.
No, man, people deal with the same things.
Despite what the journey looks like.
Right.
What do you think? Is there anything else you want to say about the work that you're doing that you want to keep doing in people's lives?
Man, I just, for me, I think where I'm at right now, I just want to help people understand no matter, where you came from, no matter what you've gone through, no matter whatever your trauma looks like, you still have a beautiful life.
Yeah.
And still, be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like happiness is a choice.
Yeah.
As a choice.
Truly is. You just got to be willing to work through shit to see it.
You got to be willing to work through shit to see it. You got to be willing to disconnect from people or environments to see it.
Yeah.
But it's a choice.
It seems like your priorities have shifted from like, wanting to grow a ruck and like your supplements and stuff to like want to invest in other people. And I think that's
100%.
something that's important to highlight.
Bro, I love it. I do. And I think that's part of, just going through the journey of being able to, being humbled, dealing with things and realizing that, there are other people that are dealing with the same things that you are.
Yeah.
And just being able to, be there for them through that.
Yeah. And just like by you sharing your story and being willing to dive into this stuff, that is such a profound effect, dude. I say that because like I had a veteran buddy of mine reach out to me on midnight on a Saturday. I'm like, dude, he knows I'm married with a kid. Like,
what are you doing?
Drunk? Like, I ain't trying down. I don't do the drunk phone calls no more.
About to say.
Bro, I didn't pick up the first time. I thought it was a butt dial. And then the second call I picked up and he was like, dude, I just don't know if I can keep going forward.
Right.
And it shook me afterward because I was like, dude, what if he didn't call back?
Right.
The what ifs don't matter. I spoke to him. I was there for him. And, he's improved a lot. We check in. But like that right there, it's like you can eliminate all the material wants and like goals when like something like that, because you're going to get those. I'm sure you have, or you will have those kind of conversations that come to you, and you realize like that's why.
Right.
That's the shit that fucking matters, dude.
That is the shit that matters.
One person just, they hear you talk through your podcast or through a podcast or through the work you're doing, like that helps them, dude. That's everything right there.
Right.
That's holy work,
Well, I even talk about like, even with me coaching, one of the things I love about coaching people is because, especially if you get somebody that's extremely overweight, as they start losing weight and their body starts changing, you see them change.
Yeah.
You see their confidence change. You see them being more open, more assured of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's powerful for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a very intimate thing.
It is, to be able to see people. And that's, to be honest with you, that's one reason why I work with, everyday people, not athletes.
Yeah.
I want to be able to help people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not just specify just a one group. Why limit yourself?
Why?
Yeah.
Another thing I want to do is, start something for kids.
Yeah.
I spoke to a class in Canada, and I've spoke to tons of high schools and kids and stuff all the time. But I remember when I was getting ready to speak to the class in Canada, I was a little nervous because you automatically think that you're in another country. Are these kids even going to be able to relate to anything I'm saying?
Just wear like a hockey.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, right.
Okay,
hockey shoes up there. Yeah. So, but once I did, and I always ask if people have questions afterwards, and tons of kids was asking questions, and I realized like, they're just like kids in America.
Yeah.
And it's just but in your mind you think that like you think because they're from another country they're not gonna be able to relate. That's not true. They're still dealing with the same things that you were when you were their age.
Yep.
Our kids are in the U.S. People deal with the same things.
A lot of them are dealing with traumas that like You know, I
Right.
talked about earlier, like some of them have gone through that shit,
Yeah.
you know?
Some of them at their houses, isn't the best. Just like, it wasn't for you or
Yeah.
kids in the U.S. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think we talked about a little bit earlier is putting labels on people
Yeah.
and actually listen to people.
Yeah. Listen to understand.
Listen to understand.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Whole different thing.
Bro, it's a whole different thing.
Well, you said you wanted to remember who you were before the world told you who you had to be. Do you know who that person is yet? Or are you still discovering that?
Bro, I'm still discovering it.
Okay.
And I'm enjoying it.
That never ends.
Bro, it never ends. And like where I'm at now, I'm enjoying like basically re-meeting myself.
Yeah.
One of the cool things is I've traveled a lot out of the country this year and going to other countries, just seeing how other people live, and just being able, I think it's really cool to go out of the country and just expand your view on the world,
Mm-hmm.
And seeing other cultures and other people, and how they live or, things they deal with and struggle with. And it's just at the end of the day, we're all humans.
Yeah.
We're all people. We're all still dealing with the same things, no matter where you are.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's really cool.
Hell yeah, man. I agree 100%. What do you know now that the version of you from 2 years ago desperately needed to hear?
Don't sacrifice who you are for someone else.
Love that.
Absolutely. Always be okay with who you are.
Yeah.
And the people that are okay with that will stay.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that are not okay with that, you don't need them.
Yeah. One thing I've realized is like maybe your habits need to change,
100%.
but your habits aren't who you are. But
No.
like who you are at the core,
Yeah.
the right person will highlight that.
Yeah.
It's like my wife came into my life. She just made me a better version,
Absolutely.
who I already was.
Yeah.
Yeah. She helped me let that shine.
And that's the thing, like having people, like you said, having people in your life that, that's not afraid to call you out.
Yeah.
I think that's a big key.
Yeah.
It's been spaces in my life where people would probably tell me whatever just to keep me happy or even if it made no sense. And you don't need that. You don't need a bunch of yes men around you.
No.
You need people that are gonna be real with you. Like, yeah, Ruck, you tripping right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zone back in. Like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? You need those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also important to find the people that'll hold you accountable and check you in the places that you need to grow, to be the best of wherever direction you're going.
Well, you gotta figure out the people who are giving you good advice.
Yeah.
And people that are not just trying to like keep you down.
Yeah.
There's one thing about, I think this is very important for people to understand. You have family, you have relatives, you have friends, and you have acquaintances. And so the thing about that is, I got people that are family that don't have the same blood as me.
Oh, family's chosen.
Yeah.
Or blood is chosen even.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I got relatives that we have the same blood that I'm good if I never see again in life.
You love them, but it's just like, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, fake friends are like 4 quarters. They'll change for $1.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to make sure you got the right people around you.
Hell yeah, man. Well, as we come to a close, I'm going to hit some rapid fire questions and ask you a final question.
Yeah.
Rapid fire. Biggest lie men tell themselves.
That they're the only ones dealing with issues.
One thing you do every day that has nothing to do with output.
Journal.
The version of success you are most glad you never reached.
Certain levels of bodybuilding that I thought I wanted to be in.
And what you want on the other side of this season.
Man, that's a good one. To be able to impact more people help more people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I love that. Charles,
Mm-hmm.
as we come to a close,
Yeah.
I've got my final question.
I know what that is.
And it evolves because it is a question of transformation. It is which is my relentless pursuit, is transformation, right? And I just gave the question away, but you know it already. Charles, what is your relentless pursuit?
Mine now is to help more people. Mine right now is to help more people find the level of peace that I'm at. Because like I said, that's the most powerful thing that I have been able to reach.
Yeah.
Period.
Oh, yeah.
And if I could give somebody that, like if I could just put that in like a box and hand it to somebody, I would.
Yeah.
Because like I said, once you find that, you'll do anything not to ever lose that again.
So now it's just helping them like discover that and work towards it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even think, I had a guy last year, real successful guy, real successful businessman. And I've known him for a long time, and I hadn't seen, he grew up in my same hometown, and I probably hadn't saw him in like 20 years. And so I was in Cookeville, and he hit me, he lives in Cookeville, he hit me up, he was like, hey, let's grab dinner. Now I'm sitting there thinking that, you know, we're going to grab dinner and, you know, catch up.
Yeah.
He comes in, and we're talking, and he asked me straight up, he's like, when do you think you'll find peace? And what does peace look like for you? And I never forgot, that was the question. He was serious. And I obviously couldn't answer it at that time because I wasn't in a peaceful place. I thought it was, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
But he was struggling with it. And I realized that he was struggling with it. But at the same time, he made me realize that I was struggling. I didn't know what peace looked like either.
You're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Peace.
Right? Peace. I thought we were just going to catch up. But that question always stuck with me. And I didn't know what that would look like. And like, for me to be able to say, yeah, I know what that looks like now. It's powerful.
Right on, man. Dude, you're being a lighthouse.
Man, I appreciate you.
Hey, Gabe. Hey, dude. Where can people show you some love? Where can people support you, find you, all that good stuff, brother?
Yo, you can find me on social media, Instagram, I am Charles Rucker, TikTok. I think it is I am Charles Rucker too. I'm going to actually start a YouTube channel this year as well. Be on the lookout for the book, Heal Your Reality. And if you need coaching, theactiveshift.com. Peptide site is King Core Labs, and Rut Nutrition, we're evolving, so I ain't really got anything for you right there. And I'm trying to think, do I have anywhere? Oh, charlesrucker.com.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm going to shake your hand.
Actually, you can go to charlesrucker.com and see everything I got.
Hell yeah, man. I love that. Hey, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your journey,
you,
where
bro.
you know, things you've been through, dude.
Yeah.
I love you, bro. I'm going to shake
bro.
your hand real quick.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Till next time.
See world.
One of the biggest lessons that I've learned in this show, and honestly in life, is that healing doesn't live in just one lane. Some people find it through addiction recovery, some through therapy, some through faith, some through hard conversations that they've avoided for years, and some for finally being honest about what they're carrying. I started this show to give people a voice, to share real journeys, real struggles, and real growth. And what it's shown me is how many people are walking through similar battles, even if it looks different on the surface. Through this platform, I've been connected with people across so many lanes: addiction recovery, mental health, veterans and first responders, faith, marriage and relationships, trauma, and everything in between. I want to say this clearly. If you're listening right now and you're struggling, please reach out. You don't need to know exactly what you need. You don't need the right words. You don't have to even know exactly where to start, but through my network, I'll do everything I can to get you connected with the right person in the right lane for where you are. That's what this show is about. Real stories, real connection, and reminding people that there is a way forward.